Noble Ali, fam, Islam, who brought this science in 1913 and was took out by COINTELPRO in 1929. Islam, brother. Islam to the Prophet Noble Ali. Alright, we're back. And this is also Ice Young Elder. And we're getting ready to take you back to 1478 when Pope Clemens gave Isabella and Ferdinand the okay to exterminate the original indigenous people of Spain. Right? And this is the foundation of world government, the Roman Catholic torture of the original indigenous people all around the world. And the word that they used was called heresy. And what is heresy? Heresy is the belief or opinion contrary to the Roman Catholic religion or the Christianity religion. If you believe anything other, they call it heresy. Right? Heresy is short for heritage. Right? Because they playing these word games with us. Right? It's etymology games. And what is heritage? Property that is or may be inherited in an inheritance. So heresy is the word they use, but they really was talking about heritage. Beings that were heirs to the Spain, they were heirs to Europe, which were people called Moors, which was us, right? And the Spanish Inquisition was authorized by the Pope to exterminate all Moors who were living in an area of Spain, who they termed Jews, which was really Yahudi, right? We're about to get into that. And what they were aiming at with this heresy word is ancestral worship, bloodline, beings that were heirs to the land, right? And they call it heresy. The Pope Clemens, right, in 1478, authorized Queen Isabella and her constituent to exterminate and remove all beings who stood out and claimed their land, or claimed their heritage, or represented their bloodline, and pretty much ancestral worship. See, what they term as the Dark Age was when we, as Moors, ruled Europe. Dark-skinned beings called Moors who wore fezzes ruled Europe. And they call this the Dark Age. The Renaissance Dark Age was when we saved the Europeans for them to come back and fang us, right? Like they've been doing. The Dark Age Renaissance for Caucasians was when they got a lot of diseases running rampant in Europe, making everybody sick and killing a whole bunch of people because they didn't understand nothing about personal hygiene and getting rid of waste. They didn't have any sewer system, right? So they used to pee in the pot and shit in the pot and throw it out the window. Thus you get the term, not a pot to pee in and a window to throw it out of, right? They didn't take baths, right? But once a month, they wore the same clothes, the same pair of clothes every day, right? For a whole season, for a whole winter, or a whole summer, right? Or a whole, they had 4 outfits for 1 year, right? And they took a bath like once a month, man. So they was stinking. They didn't have deodorant. They didn't brush their teeth, so they ended up having rotten teeth and had to get teeth replaced with wooden teeth, right? So we as Moors, right, came in and gave them deodorant. We gave them deodorant. We gave them toothpaste, right? We told them about toothpaste. We told them about deodorant and baking soda, right? And different things. They didn't have good sewer systems over there. They didn't have no kind of sewer system, right? So they used to throw their feces and urine on the street. And they used to wash their clothes with urine. Facts, man, go check it out. Don't believe the young elder. We introduced these people to soap and suggested they should take a bath at least twice a day because they were stinking, right? And bacteria and disease went rampant because of their lack of hygiene, lack of knowledge of the hygiene thing, which we as Moors brought to them, right? We introduced them to the lemon, the oranges. They didn't know nothing about this, right? Because they lived in the caves, in the Caucasus Mountain. We showed them about proper etiquette, how to use a fork or a spoon or knife, right? We Moors taught them this, right? And this is what it was what the Renaissance was all about, because they was in the Dark Age, right? Because we, the Moors, taught them this and brought them out, raised them out to Muck and Maya, right? And they try to say we was running around with thongs on and spears. Man, get the hell out of here. The game is up. The gig is up. We know now. We know what's going on. So as Moors, also we felt sorry for them because we had their Caucasian women as slave Moor-maids, right? We get the word Moor-maids. They would call our Moor-maids in our harems, which was our conquer where we kept our extra wives at, because we as Moors had more than one wife. And we kept our concubines in a place called a holler. And we were selling these Caucasian slave women to Moors who were rich Moors who could afford them in their holler. Don't believe me? Just go get a book called Night in the Moorish Holler. So we used to have these Caucasian women as our slaves. This is part of the reason why they tried to inherit some of our wealth, because the most noble Moors had the money and can afford these Caucasian women and was getting some of them pregnant, thus creating these mulatto Moors, light-skinned Moors. So the Spanish Inquisition started in 1478, approved by Pope Clemens, giving Queen Isabella and her constituents the okay to wipe out, arrest, exterminate, infiltrate, pretty much start the original COINTELPRO, right? To infiltrate the Moors and steal the land and take over the land, right? So they paid Moors, who became known as morons, right? Pieces of silver, right? To betray their own people. And these Moors was you, right? Your people. Over in the area of Spain today, that was our land, our ancestral land. We had heritage on that land. So the Queen Isabella set out for total genocide on the Moors residing in the area of Spain. It took them 14 years from 1478 to conquer whole Spain. And on January the 2nd, 1492, the last king of the Moors, King Boudil, handed over his keys to Granada, right, and left the kingdom. He handed over his kingdom to Isabella and her constituents, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, right? Because little do you know what April Fool's Day is all about, right? April 1st, 1492. were the last people that was left of the Moors, dark-skinned beings in Spain. The Spaniards, or Queen Ben and her constituents, made ships and act like they were gonna let them go and sail off, right? And as they packed their bags to go get on the ship, they burned their house down and burned the ships and captured the women, held them as slaves and killed the men, right? Devils, right? Tricky. So April Fool's Day is when they tricked the Moors and they thinking they were gonna let us go. Prior to this, because we gotta understand what's going on. When you selling on the ocean and going and trying to make trade and commerce, you must have the right paperwork. You must have a birth certificate for your ship. It must have certain seals on it of beings who have passes to travel and do commerce on a maritime level and a universal code commercial level. These beings who travel with ships had to have birth certificates that were sealed in order to cross and travel and make trade and commerce. Or else there were beings called pirates, which were Moors, dark-skinned beings who were the feds, who were pirates, also who would raid your ship. If you were caught without having the proper paperwork, they would raid your ship, take whatever you got, and depending on how they feeling, they would take your ship and make you walk the plank. Or most times, they were feeling good, they would take all your stuff, all the stuff that you were trying to take and trade with, they would take all that and let you go if you got lucky. This is what Pirates is all about. If you go watch the Pirates of the Caribbean, it'll show you black beings with fezzes in the movie, or the Pirates of the Caribbean on the Black Pearls. Right? Just check that out. They come out with movies like this to see how woke are you. Movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, movies like National Treasure Hunt. They want to see where you at, what level you on, how asleep are you, so they can implement more disillusion to keep you from waking up and realizing what's going on here. So they would get jacked if they got caught slipping without that paperwork. And before then, they was only able to sail on the eastern side due to Marco Polo and them intertwining themselves with the Vietnamese emperor, and they was able to get a stamp or a seal to sail on maritime commercial through the eastern hemisphere, but they were not yet able to sail to the western hemisphere until they got that last keys to Granada, which came with a title and a seal to sail the western hemisphere. So understand, at 1492, Christopher Columbus was not able to sail before 1492 because they didn't have the right paperwork to sail on that side of town, or that side of the globe, the Western Hemisphere, see? That's why you get Christopher Columbus in 1492. And they give you a picture of Christopher Columbus shooting a 5-finger discount, right? A moral symbol, right? Which means I have a good heart, right? I, self-Lord and Master, I have a good heart. So he's shooting a sign right in the paint they giving you, man. A moral sign. So how the hell he grabbed to have a good heart when he came and kidnapped folks and took them back to Portuguese, man, who didn't even come and land on a Maxim or Turtle Island, he landed in the Caribbeans. Cause like I told you, if they were caught selling without their right paperwork, we as Moors, dark-skinned beings, who are the real pirates, just go watch the Pirates of the Caribbean, you see some black Moors. And we don't like to use the word black because black is not a nationality. Black is an adjective. It's not a noun. It's not a nationality. It's not a race, right? It's a label for scientific, for business purposes. So we were Moors, and we caught anybody slipping without the right paperwork, we jacked them. You know what I'm saying? And they know exactly who we are. And the main pirate in the Pirate of the Caribbean's name is Jack Sparrow, as in his eye is on the sparrow. Think about that. These pirates are water police, meaning you caught on the water without the right paperwork, they raid your ship and take your shit. That's what pirates is all about. Black flag, right? So they would raid your ship, depending on how they felt, like I said. They chop your heads off, feed you to the shark, or make you walk the plank and steal all your stuff. So in 1492, Christopher Columbus was able to start selling due to certain paperwork, and between 1492 to 1504, he sailed in between Spain and Portuguese all the way to the Caribbean islands, right? And back to Spain. So Christopher Columbus never landed on a Maxim. He never landed on what you call in America today. He landed in the Caribbean islands and started taking people from there, which were Moors, and taking them back to Spain as captains. You say, how did he do it? Right? Because they're tricky. They're real tricky. Christopher Columbus didn't discover America or Maxim. It was beans already there, right? Better get into that. Thousands of years before Christopher Columbus was even born. Understand that we occupied this land known as America today, and Mexico, which was known as a Maxim, and South America, which was known as a Maxim, right? We occupied this land, right? Almacs, Moors, all the way from Alaska, all the way down to South America and Chile, right? All the way from Canada on the East Coast, all the way up from the top of Canada, all the way down to Florida, right? We occupied this land thousands of years as Moors, right? And if you go down to what you call in Mexico today, which was really a Maxim, right? There were Zooan Aztecs, right? And Mayans, which the original beings were dark-skinned, woolly-haired beings with big lips and big noses, right? Called the Olmecs. And when they got over here, they found skulls, which they destroyed most of them and tried to hide them, right? They found these big skulls, these big old stone structures of heads, right? They found these big old heads over here, right? And we're showing you pictures of them right now, right? They found these big old heads, which were black people with big lips and big nose, right?
Here, look at Joe Louis. And look at that brother right there. Matter of fact, at this old man, you can even see, you know how niggas when they on line they shit up and your shit come to a point. You understand? Yeah, you can see it right up in there, right there. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? So we can see the phenotypes in the Olmecs is the same as the African.
Right, which were dark-skinned beings with woolly hair, big noses, and big cheekbones, right? Dark-skinned people. And the people that they show you today are descendants and children after the mix came in, right? We're gonna get into that, but we occupied this land and we were called Moors, sometime Almacs, right? We were dark-skinned, woolly-haired beings, right? You must understand the difference between Native American Indian and American Indian. Because what you must understand is that all these lands was connected, right? Connected together. And they're only opening where the Bermuda Triangle at, which was our power source, right? Which the disagreeable extraterrestrial song, right? These demons, these Luciferians. So all this land was one land at one time. It was all one land that we lived on. And the people over there in Europe, right, referred to it as Atlantis, that great city or that great place where the kings dwell. Then we go to the other side of the globe, right, where beings migrated thousands and thousands of years to the area you call China today. These beings, the sand people, or the bushman, right? Who, if you look at these beings, right? We're gonna show you pictures of these beings right now. These are what these beings look like, right? The sand people who migrated, right, through the sand, through the desert, thousands of years from South Africa, from thousands of years ago, migrated to the area you call China today, And these beings became known as the Shin dynasty, who mixed in beings called the Teru, right? Who migrated from the Andromeda's galaxy to the Arcturus and dwelled on a planet called Jumma, who later migrated to Earth, right? And landed in a place you call today Asia, right? Or China, who had a 47 chromosome, right? And were hairless, right? Having no hair. These Teru beings mixed in with the original Shin dynasty, which were dark-skinned, woolly-haired beings, right? Beings who migrated from our land, indigenous people of the planet Earth. A Tiamat, a Key, right? Whatever floats your boat. These beings mixed with the Teru, right? And when they mixed with the Teru, these beings were then born with straight, hollow hair, right? And the Chinese, no matter what they do, they can't curl their hair, right? They only can put it in a ponytail, right? Check that out. The Chinese have hollow hair, and they can't curl their hair. Which brings me to another thing. Just take a look at Buddha and how his hair was in naps. The Chinese have hollow hair, so Buddha could not have been Chinese. Buddha had to be of the original Qin dynasty, right? Which was the original dark-skinned, woolly-haired beings of that land, right? Just want to put that out there. Take a look at him. And still to this very day, there's Moors in China speaking Chinese right now, right? And the Chinese honor and worship these people as their ancestors. Also, the mixing of these Teru beings who had a larger head gave these Chinese beings, or these Qin beings, a bigger, larger skulls, right? Because the Teru had big heads. Also, it created a thing called Mongoloism, which gave these beings the appearance of a Down syndrome. Because if you look at beings and children with Down syndrome, you will see that they look Chinese. In due time, the power of the Mongoloids, or the Shin, drove the Teru underground to an advanced cave system. And they have advanced cave systems that were built by the original Shin, of the people of that land, right? And these Teru went underground and carved out more systems and created advanced cave systems underground.
Discovered in the 1990s, located near the village of Shenbiakun in Zhejiang province, China, lies the Longyu Caves, an extensive, magnificent and rare ancient underground world considered in China a single quote ninth wonder of the ancient world.
Due to being drove off the surface by the surface dwellers, who were the original Shin, who had mixed in with the Teru. Then meanwhile, right, beings who lived in the land of Nod, who dwelled in the land of Nod, called the Hindus, right, which were avatars for beings who came from the planet called Nirvana. These beings who you call the East Indian. And these beings were the real Asiatic black man, right? Dark-skinned beings with straight hair, right? The real Asiatic black man, which where you get the word Oriental from, which means where the sun is rising, because these beings left our land and headed east, where we knew to rise from. We call them Orientals, right? Which comes from the Arabic word, right? Osnia. So Orientals and Asiatics are the same people, right? And also, they consider the Chinaman, the Shin dynasty, the original seed, right? The word Chinese from Xing, Chinese, right? These original beings, right, were also considered as Oriental, all right? And still to this very day, there's Moors in China speaking Chinese right now, right? And the Chinese honor and worship these people as their ancestors. Meanwhile, one of our scientists, whose name was Yaku, who was a Danako being, who we told you about when we introduced you to the supercomputer. He was a Danako being crossbreeded with the Terus, right? Because his mother was a Teru and his father was a Danako named Yishak. Yaku took it upon himself to draft his own race out of these Asiatic black men, right? And this race was called the Furlongi. It took him 600 years, which were blonde-haired, blue-eyed beings, right? Yaku did this on the island of Patmos, and these beings later on migrated to Caucasus Mountain, who mixed their seed with the Canaanites, and then these beings in turn mixed back with the mixture of the Teru and Shin dynasty. So the Shin dynasty and the Teru mix mixed with the end with these furlong and Canaanite mix, giving you what you call the Chinese today, so yellow man. And these people build ships, right, and sell from China, right, to California, and landed in the Bay Area. So think about that, Bay Area, as in B-A-Y, the Bay. They mixed in with the Bays and the L's, right, creating what you call American Indian today, because the American Indian has hollow hair, just like the Chinese. The only thing they can do is plait it down. They can't now curly hair, right? Go check it out. And if you look at the West Coast Indians, right, who mix with the Bays and the L's, right, as in Bay Area, right, they telling you who was over that area, the Bay Area. These beings, they were allowed to marry our daughters, right, and they brought the dragon culture with them, right, because they worship the dragon. Like we told you, you go to China, right, their flag is a dragon, and they have parades where they parade around with the dragon in the streets, right? And they brought this type of culture over here with them. They were allowed to marry our daughters, and thus created what you call American Indians, which are beings who have hollow hair. And these beings, you can look at them and clearly see that they're Oriental, what you call today Asian or Chinese. You can clearly see. And these American Indians can range from African all the way down to Oriental, right? Or Chinese looking. Then you have another mix, right? Because if you look at the Eskimo Indians, you can clearly see that they look Oriental. And then the East Indians, who came down the Bering Strait and mixed in with the Eskimos and a couple more other tribes, thus giving you the East Indian looking, like the Seminole. And the Eskimos weren't living in teepees. Man, these beings were building shelter from ice called igloos. And you mean tell me we were living in teepees? Man, get the hell out of here. So these beings came up with their dragon worship, their Chinese culture, and they worshiped the elderberries, the red hair beard beings, right? And you push these beings down south to what you call Mexico today. And they became known as the Mexicans. That's why you might see some Mexicans, they might look Filipino looking, they might look Chinese looking, and you might see some that might look Native American looking, right? Also, later on, David Cortez and his gang came to Mexico, right, today, in South America area, and raped these beings, and thus giving you the Italian-looking, Spanish-looking beings who dwell in that area. The Mexicans, okay? Just want to make that clear so you can get an understanding of who the Native Americans is. The real natives is us, the Moors, and we were here first. Then we go on down to Vespucci's, who sailed, right, in 1502 also, right, landed on a Mexican. And this is when they tried to incorporate themselves and then weave themselves to start dealing with us as Moors on this western side of the fence. And so finally, in 1604, 104 white boys, right, and men were able to settle in what they call Jamestown today, Jamestown, Virginia. Started like a little small settlement in 1604. So they can start interwoven themselves within our culture and interwoven themselves to try to trick us out of our land. We're getting into that because the main key point here, the main key person is Montaoka, who they call him Pocahontas. Montaoka, who they give you pictures of now as a white girl. Look like a white girl. But this is so far from the truth. Pocahontas was a Moor Indian girl who was the princess of a certain tribe in Virginia. She was a member, the princess of a tribe called the Powhatans in Virginia. And you take a good look at these people are from the same tribe. You can look at the being with the star on his chest, and he can pass for LeBron James. And two beings were assigned to try to attract Pocahontas and trick her so they can interweave themselves into the bloodline. And they sent two beings, John Smith and John Roth, who both competed in tricking Pocahontas into thinking that they loved her so they can put a baby in her in order to steal the bloodline. And contrary to what everybody think and what they teach in school about John Smith winning over, John Roth married her and had a kid named Thomas Roth. And they took Pocahontas back to Graceland, England, and threw her overboard, right? And came back with this child, and this is how they started interwoven themselves into the Native American culture and community, because they had the bloodline. It was about stealing the land. They came out to Pocahontas so they could steal the land. When they got that kid, now that kid was a heritage to the land of Virginia. See what I'm saying? This kid was a heritage of this land, this property, because he was the grandson of the chief, okay? Pocahontas' father was a Parliament chief. He was a supreme chief, right? He was a chief over 11 to 30 different tribes. He was the main chief. Like all these tribes had their own chief, and they would report to the Parliament chief, which was the supreme chief over all of these beings. So understand the game that they was aiming at by going at Pocahontas. Understand that these people, Pocahontas was Moors. The tribes were Moors. So these beings, Thomas Rolfe was what they call a mulatto, right? Because we were Moors. The Native Americans here were Moors, dark-skinned people, right? We were Moors. And these beings, these Europeans, now had a child who was a mulatto, who they can bring back to connect other family members to this kid and start thus interwoven themselves in the tribe. Thus, these beings who came back with Thomas Rolfe and was tied into this tribe was able to start mixing in the other Moorish women, right? The Moorish native women, and start having kids, and thus you start creating mulatto kids within the threshold of the tribe, thus creating, a different looking type of Indian. An Indian that looked white, pale face Indian, right? This set the mark forward for the Caucasian race to start mixing their seed, right, with the Native Americans, the Moors who was here already, dark-skinned beings, right? And this is what they look like. And we just showed you what Pocahontas really looked like, but they paint her out to be of some white girl, right? Because they are liars from the jump. They've been lying all along. So by the Caucasian race intertwining with Pocahontas, they were able to create this hybrid race, and then proceed to wipe out the indigenous people and give the hybrid race the inheritance of Caucasian mixed Indians. And we wasn't Indians, we were Native American. Indians come from India. So intertwining themselves into our bloodline was all about stealing the land, stealing the heritage, stealing the estate, right? And we're about to get into that. Then they started to come over here, right? And in 1620, the Mayflower landed on Plymouth Rock. And this was one of the statements that Malcolm X made. And he gave us a little secret there. He said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. We were already here, right? We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us because the Mayflower came over in 1920, right after they had started incorporating themselves into our bloodline, killing and wiping out the original indigenous. The Mayflower came over and landed on Plymouth Rock, right? The Plymouth Harbor. So they worked their way from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, wiping out people, wiping out the indigenous people and stealing their land, right? Because he's a murderer and a liar and a killer from the jump. So they kept wiping out indigenous people, driving the East Coast indigenous people to have to go and live with their brothers in the Midwest or Mexico, and they pushed them out and drove them out. And the killing part about it is they show you these Indians in teepees and shit, but we already had cities of establishment already. We had whole cities already built, right? Because we built Rome. We built Rome and Spain. Like I said, they pushed us out when they started the Spanish Inquisition. So we had cities over here too, built up already. We wasn't living in no damn teepees. Get that out your head, brother. We was already settled and a civilized people already, right? As Moors, American Indians, or Moors, American natives, right? So as time went on, they drove us to push west, where they assigned beings like Bat Masterson and White Herb to hunt buffaloes for their skin, which was one of our food sources, right? And they would hunt the buffalo and skin them and leave the meat out there to rot, right? For the coyotes. So they tried to starve us out. These people wiped us out by killing our food supplies, right? They sent militaries out to cut off our food supply and drove us out to wipe us out so they can steal the land. This is what this is all about, stealing our inheritance. And from 1872 all the way to 1892, Bat Masters and White Herb and their gang wiped out the food supply for indigenous people. Starvation. They set up military bases around our food source because we, as native Moors, used to put our food behind waterfall. And these beings always figure that information out and start camping out. And they set up military bases still to this very day around where our food source used to be at, our storage was. And anybody that would stand up against them, like the Native American Moor Geronimo, they would hunt them down and kill them and their family. But they did Geronimo, right? Name sound familiar, don't it? Geronimo Pratt, Geronimo, right? Okay, in a certain period of time, they set up what they call the Smithsonian Institute. The Smithsonian Institute was responsible for taking all black characters that were positive in the history of black people and turning them, making them white. Like John Hanson, who was the first Moorish president. He wasn't black. He was the first Moorish president of the United States Republic. And this being was a dark-skinned Native American Moor, right? The indigenous man to this land. And he was the first president. And he was involved with signing the Declaration of Independence. George Washington was a British general who was inaugurated by this man, okay? And we saw what you did, George, cutting down a cherry tree, and you see the Moor in the background watching you, because we're gonna come back and claim that. You took our flag down, right, which is the red flag with the green five-pointed star, and you chopped our cherry tree down and put it in the vault, because little they know what chopping that down was all about. In 1776, they didn't file for their independence from Great Britain. They filed for their independence from the Moorish nation, right? But we use these people and hire them as mercenaries to go around and do work for us as mercenaries. You know what a mercenary is, right? So we hired them for mercenaries, and they work for us. Man, the game is up. The gig is up. We finally know now. We standing up. We shooting our 7. We holding our square, right? And we're gonna show you how to hold your square right here. My brother King Dolo gonna show you how to hold your square.
They're not showing you how to get the fuck out of jail, out of prison. First of all, you gotta hold your square, 90-degree angle. You wanna put the camera on my feet, sir? That 90-degree square is the same thing the Caucasians shoot in Masonic Lodge. 90-degree square. 90-degree square. Same thing Noble Drew Ali shot. There's a 90-degree square. Y'all all talking about Noble Drew Ali and how y'all want to be like Noble Drew Ali, but y'all not holding your square. That's the first thing you do is hold your 90-degree square. Is to hold the square down. 90-degree square. I'm 7. This is a Masonic sign right here. This is showing you and telling you I am God's body. I am a child of the Most High. This is a 7. This is showing you I'm God. This is showing you that I'm the devil. I'm the son of Satan. Left over right. We always have a right over left. Watch their arm movements. Watch their leg. If their right leg is over their left leg, that means that they're doing right. They're bringing in righteousness. If their left leg is over their right leg, they're bringing in negativity. They're bringing in satanic energy. This is what it is. When they have their square out, they hold their square, they all point. They're the real Solomon Moors, and they're doing with their nationality. If you see Noble Drew Ali picture, you'll see Noble Drew Ali like this. Holding his square out with his right hand over his heart, saying, I have a good heart. Fidelity. That's what this sign means. This sign means I'm striving for a good heart. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? We shooting our signs, our symbols, because we Masons by birth. Hey, the big payback. The big payback. And to blow your mind, there was never a black president. There can never be a black president. Barack Obama is not black, right? He's a Moor. Understand what they're doing to your babies when they change images of black beings that were great in history to make them white, like Pocahontas, right? And like we say, 100 years from now, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Obama gonna get lighter and lighter over the years till they're always white guys. And this right here, what they look like. This is what Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Obama gonna look like in the years to come. Just how they've been doing. If we let this go on and keep going on, and not teaching the people the true history, because you must understand the science behind the word black, right? Black is a label. It's an adjective, not a noun. It was put on a people to label a people, so they can take them into court and do what they want to do to them because they're not indigenous people. They have no rights, human common right in the international courts being called black because you have no nationality. So you say you're black, a nigger, or one of these other adjectives or these other words that they use, you're not considered as a people, so you're not recognized on an international level. Thus, they can shoot you down in the streets. They can Mike Brown you. They can Trayvon Martin you because you're not classified as a people in international courts. You have no flag, and you can say the black, red, and green flag is your flag, but that's not your flag. It's not a black people flag. Because if you say you black, in legal documents, you still a slave or a servitude. Because you can't be a slave, because in order to be a slave, you must be Slavic. And you are not a Slavic. And Slavics are from Russia and Ukraine and Polish, right? These people are Slavics, which are slaves, and you are not that, right? You are serving in servitude as a slave or completely under the power of somebody more powerful than you, right? This is what's going on here. Because they acted as trustees over our estate. So it wasn't slavery they put you in, it was kidnapping. And they gave you a Black History Month to further play games on your intelligence and your mind, knowing you not black, knowing you Moors. And this is your land. This was part of the game, so they can steal the land. Cause James Brown sold us out with said lie, I'm black and I'm proud, getting us to say we black, right? And either he sold us out knowingly or unknowingly. But that song definitely played a big part in the black codes and getting us under the black system. And if you look up anybody's nationality, it's gonna say that's a noun. Like if you look up Chinese, it's gonna tell you it's a noun. If you look up Navajo, it's gonna tell you it's a noun. But if you look up black, it's gonna say it's an adjective. Overstand the game that's being played here. Because everything is in Greek. We as Moors set the scholarship up in Greek, right? And these fake Greeks took the information and now it's regurgitating it back to you. Because if you understand medical terms is in Greek. And you can go to the hospital and the doctors are talking in Greek. And when you go to college, right, they have what they call fraternities, right? And all these fraternities are in Greek and their symbols are Greek. And when you graduate from every platform of school, as far as elementary, right, middle school, high school, and college, you graduate into what they call a cap and gown, where it has a fez pretty much with a tassel on it, right? And this is more science right here, right before your eyes, our science. And even when you go into courts, right, there you talking in Greek, because law is in Greek. So understand the Black Law Dictionary and understand what the word black is all about and how it was set up to term you so they don't have to classify you in legal documents. When you say you black, you go under the 14th Amendment and you under Black Christian Code, right? Just look up Black Christian Code, right? But one of the articles state that black people can only be taught Christianity or Roman Catholic or be under a Roman Catholic instructor, right? Man, go read it. The promise of 40 acres and a mule, right, was done before we populated to where they gave us a certain amount of acreage, right? They would have no acres left. And they damn sure didn't have that many mules. And you can't say you are African American because Africa has 54 different countries. That's 54 different nationalities. It has 3,000 distinct different people. And it has 2,000 different languages. So African American, what part of Africa are you from, right? There's been a concentrated effort, right, to keep us from becoming a nationality. And they came up with many names for us. They would rather make us a color or a thing, like Negro, Afro, Rastafarian, Hebrew Israelite, Black, Black Muslim, Muslim, Shia, Sunni, Color, Coon, Spade, Jigaboo, Grease Monkey, Porch Monkey, Yardie, Birdhead, Christian, Jehovah's Witness, Baptist, Pentecostal, Black Panthers, Nation of Islam, Gangster Disciples, Bloods, Crip, Nigga. But they won't call you Moor, right? Your nationality, your true nationality. They want to make you a thing or an adjective so they don't have to classify you in legal documents. Understand what this is all about. Because if you say you are Moor, then you might demand legal representation in their system. You might say, right, I cannot be tried without a jury of my peers, right? And your peers, if you say you are Moor, would have to be Moors. The Smithsonian Institute, they went out finding all artifacts over this land and over the world that were Moor people. They could bring their history back, and they destroyed every damn artifact. 2 things they did with them, or 3 things they did with them. They either locked them in the museum, or they either throw them in the Atlantic Ocean, or they either locked it, the stuff that was real potent, they couldn't stand the chances of us even going and getting into the ocean and finding it. Nobody finding it. They locked under the Roman Catholic Church in 24-inch thick walls with 24-hour security. Why? Why would they do this? Because they were stealing our history. Stealing our history. Usually from one of the 5 tribes, right? There's 562 indigenous tribes in America right now, but they all came from 5 different tribes. There were 5 tribes at first, which broke to 562 tribes. You had the Els, the Bays, the Days, the Alis, and the Als. The Els were considered Cherokees, Indians. The Bays were considered Chata. The Days were considered Seminole. The Als were considered Creek, and the Alis were considered Chickasaw. And these tribes got ran out of their areas by the Spanish Inquisition situation, where the Roman Catholic Church was going and stealing indigenous people land. Andrew Jackson came in, right? Loaned us heavy equipment, then came back in less than the time that he demanded the payback for the equipment and took our women and children as collateral. Then he came back and fingered us again in 1830 with the Indian Removal Act, causing the Trail of Tears, removing us from our original homeland, moving us to reservations. And they gave the mixed Indian hybrid Indian the rights to the reservation and wiped out the black Indians. This is what it's all about, stealing the inheritance. Because the hybrid Indian can't truly lay claim to the land, which is why the chiefs say that when the black eagle rides, our land to be healed. And the Freemason, Horace Greeley, was in on it, right? The founder of the New York Tribune, who was responsible for helping rewrite and tie on the white history into Moorish history of America and over the whole globe. But to brainwash and wipe out the mind of the Moors, because the so-called white man used to be called the red man, and they call themselves red man. And Horace Greeley, the Freemason, was a part of a political party called the Red Man's Whig Party, which eventually he promoted to be changed to the Republican Party. So the present-day Republican Party used to be known as the Red Man's Whig Party. Horace Greeley, the Freemason, and Abraham Lincoln was members of this party. And Horace Greeley suggested to them at one of the meetings that they should not call themselves Red Man anymore, but call themselves White Man. And this set up the social status of the white race, of the white people. Most of the people that come over here from other countries have white, even if they from Africa or from Trinidad, they come over. If you look at their passport, it says white, which is a status. Just ask one of your good friends, you got any friends, that come from overseas and got passports, ask them to see their passport and see them, they say white on them, which is a status that was changed by Horace Greeley, who was a part of the Red Man Whig Party, who suggested that they change their name from Red Man to White Man. This was our land to inherit it, because it was our forefathers' land. See, what happens is due to brainwashing, right, and wiping out our memory of this information and making us believe that we all was brought here on slave ships, right, all done by the Smithsonian Institute, Horace Greeley and his gang. There was no one who would stand up, who were from the original 5 indigenous tribes, to stand up and claim the land, because they had what you call a Brandon property law, or the Shipwreck Act, where if a certain amount of time go by, where the original indigenous people or the original owners of the land don't claim the land, right, then the land goes to the beings who claim the land or been living on the land for the last 20 years. So there was no rightful heir at the time. At least that's what they thought, right? In 1913, Skull and Bones, Woodrow Wilson fingered America, and they sold the last increment to the land that they had conquered, because they had finally destroyed the information of the beings who would be able to rightfully claim the heritage to the property. So Woodrow Wilson and the bankers and the Roman Catholic secret police, the Jesuits, right, met up on Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia and secretly sold off the land, auctioned off the land, right, under the secret Treaty of Verona. Just go Google the secret Treaty of Verona, where Woodrow Wilson fingered America. And they was hoping that a certain amount of time, or 20 years or so, was gonna go by so they could lay claim to the land completely. Cause little do you know that one man caused the stock market to crash. One more man, right? One dark-skinned being named Noble Drew Ali caused the stock market to crash. You say, how did he do it? See, a certain amount of time went by. In 1928, there was a conference held in Havana, Cuba, which was attended by all the world officials and all the beings on the Western Hemisphere, right? The indigenous people who were indigenous to the land, right? And little did they know, Noble Drew Ali and C. Kirkland Bay, who was fluent in several different languages, was at the place, was at the conference. And when they called out the title and deeds for the land, they was expecting no one to stand up from the original indigenous seed and claim the property. So the Federal Reserve and Woodrow Wilson and their plans in 1913 to finger us was put to a halt because a being named Noble Drew Ali and C. Kirkland Bay stood up and claimed the deeds to the property, claiming that they are a part of the indigenous seed, right? Ali, right, which is one of the 5 tribes, and Bay, right? We told y'all. And this all happened in 1928. So the beings claimed the property before they could break in their abandoned law. And then Noble Drew Ali took the property and put it in a trust so it'd be held for a certain group of people, which is the 5 indigenous tribes, snatching the land right off from under their cheeks. How much land did he get? All of Canada, all the way down from Canada, all the way down to the Chile, South America, all the way back over pretty much the whole European empire. All the land that the Europeans have snatched and the Queen had taken, the church have snatched, he snatched it right back from them, right? So you boys rich. You boys got your own money. Them boys got their own money.
He's rich. He is rich.
What?
He's got his own money. And baby, when I tell you he's got his own money, I mean the boy has got his own money. You did it this time. You hit the jackpot.
Look at that Tahuti, right? You people are the Jews. You people are the real people of the earth. You people are the inheritance. Hey man, this is what it's all about, right? You boys got your own money, right? You boys got more money. You boys got enough money to make Bill Gates look like he broke. Check that out. All praise is due to a new. All power is due to the beings up high. They can't fuck with us, right? We got that land back. This is our land. And we will tell you to get off, but we ain't gotta get you off. The rock gonna get you off. It was so sweet because little did they know who Noble Drew Ali was, right? A being who was trained in the mystic order of Melchizedek, right? And we sent him in a pyramid with the blindfold on through the maze, and the being made it out in remarkable speed. So we trained him and set him up. So in 1913, Noble Drew Ali set out doing his thing. And little did you know, while you were fingering us, we were gonna finger you, right? In 1928, when you thought that nobody would come to claim the land, and we signed Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, fam. Islam. And soon the land was snatched out from under them in 1928. A little bit after, they stopped market crash because they had no more investors because they didn't have no more land, right? So the troop got out the bag and they assassinated Noble Drew Ali in 1929 because of what he did, but it was too late. The land was already claimed and put in a trust in international courts and in federal courts and in DC. So y'all know what time it is. Once we claim our indigenous, game over. Once we say we ain't black, we Moors, game over. And it's how we move, right? This system can right in the crack. Goodbye. Your rule was unjust. Illuminati, which is not illuminated at all. We are the Illuminati, the real Illuminati. Because the seal you got of the pyramid with the capstone and eye is our seal, right? And it was our seal way before it was your seal. We had the capstone connected, right? Because you know who we are. We are the eye of Ra, okay? So stop playing games with us. And I want to send a shout out to George W. Bush Sr. for signing them papers in 1992 for indigenous people to claim their rights, and to Obama redoing it again before he got out of office, because they know what time it is, right? Because George W. Bush went against the grain. They were mad at him by doing that too. And the preacher ain't telling you none of this information that you just heard on this tape. Why? Because he got a 501c3 Skull and Bones, a Lyndon Johnson Skull and Bones 501c3 agreement, right? Because Woodrow Wilson was a member of the Skull and Bones, right? And I'm surprised they didn't kill George W. Bush for signing that damn paperwork for the rights of indigenous people, right? Because Obama signed it too, though, but he did it right before he got out. He was slick, see? But the thing is, the game is up. People know this is what's gonna end the system. Black people saying they're not black anymore, but they are Moors. Because this is what's on legal documents in the international courts. Do you understand what I'm saying, people, man? Yo, Young L is signing out. And that's the end of this transmission. We love you all. Good night. Goodbye.